Welcome to the XYZ podcast. We're three good friends, each from different generations, chatting about the most important pop culture moments from this month and how they impacted the zeitgeist of today. Whether you're great at keeping up with the times or you live under a rock, this podcast has something for you. Hey, besties!
Welcome in.
Hi.
So, I just thought we could give a little review of the end of our 2023 and beginning of our 2024. How are we feeling, people?
I am holding what I got for Christmas. So I got a new puppy and he's very cute. Still introducing them to the rest of the pack, who is not too bad except for the boy. He's very dominant. So we're slowly getting into it. But otherwise, quiet Christmas, quiet New Year. How about you?
Okay, I'll be honest, the end of last year was not cunty for me. I was not doing well, but the beginning of this year has actually been going pretty good. My tarot spreads have been getting more positive, so I think we're getting somewhere. 10 of once, I just gotta drop a stick, so we're figuring that out.
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I've been having fun researching for the podcast, but my pain has not been great, so we're working on it. We're working on it. So, we are going to start with our quick fire. Here's just some miscellaneous things that you might have missed. Kanye West apologized to the Jewish community for his anti-Semitic remarks in Hebrew, as if that's gonna make it any more heartfelt.
I think they're a bit busy at the moment to be accepting apologies from Kanye. Busy time.
Too little too late, sir. Too little too late. It took him forever to do that. Why should they accept it now? Is my take.
Just go back to molding a woman into Kim K, like that's what you want to do.
The Black community should be getting a big apology from him for saying that slavery was a choice.
And he shat on Harriet Tubman.
So I saw a lot of criticism towards different K-pop stars, different K-pop idols for drinking Starbucks. I have seen a lot of BTS stans, maybe more than other standums, who are sticking up for Gaza, who are talking about Palestine, who are very involved in spreading the word about the boycott lists. And so they feel, even more than other influencers, that the K-pop idols should know better because a lot of them have been getting warnings and messages and etc. I've only seen maybe one apology for doing this, which has been taken pretty well because there have been so few apologies.
It's interesting. The army definitely is powerful. Like our last episode, we were talking about how influencers thought, oh, I shouldn't have an opinion on this. And you look at the BTS army, they are powerful as a force and as an influence. So come on, if they can do it, why can't Western influencers do it?
So Donald Trump on some conservative Facebook-esque website said during Christmas, F off to his opposition. And I think he did so in the longest run-on sentence I've ever seen in my life.
We're gonna do a dramatic reading of it.
Merry Christmas to all, including Crooked Joe Biden's only hope, deranged Jack Smith, the out of control lunatic who just hired outside attorneys fresh from the swamp, unprecedented, to help him with his poorly executed witch hunt against Trump and MAGA.
Both in quotation marks for whatever reason.
Included also our world leaders, both good and bad, but none of which are as evil and as sick, in quotes, as the thugs we have inside our country who, with their open borders, inflation, Afghanistan surrender, Green New Scam, high taxes, no energy independence, woke military, Russia slash Ukraine, Israel slash Iran, all electric car lunacy, and so much more are looking to destroy our once great USA.
May they rot in hell again. Merry Christmas. What is
What is going on?
I like the all electric car lunacy. All electric car lunacy. All electric car lunacy. What is it? Merry Christmas from the Trumps. What the fuck? That was like spoken word, like slam poetry.
That's how we always talk.
Inflation, woke military, all electric car lunacy.
Joe Biden, Cynthia,
For Cynthia's.
The cognitive dissonance of, oh, Joe, he hasn't got his mental faculties, but our candidate has.
Like, that's the guy you're
Like-
gonna say has his faculties?
like, just because you don't like the other guy doesn't mean that you have to revere Trump. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Carrying on from our quickfire random moments in pop culture, now we are onto our TV segment. What's been happening in television land?
So, one thing that I was very excited about that came out was called Pokemon Concierge. Pokemon is a well known series, but it is one that we've seen similar imagery for it throughout time. It seems like the look of it has stayed pretty consistent throughout the video games and throughout the TV shows. But it's very cool with Pokemon Concierge that they did stop motion. They used clay and felt. Not only does it look beautiful, but the show's plot is very wholesome, has good messages and representation, and takes plenty of time to just let the Pokemon be cute, because that's what we want to see at the end of the day. We're all here for the Pokemon. The show is genuinely a charming and refreshing take on the Pokemon that we all know and love, and feels truly inspired. See, I watched the original Pokemon and then I saw videos of this and it just made my heart warm.
Oh.
Like, Psyduck is exactly the same.
I think even if you're not into Pokemon, this is just cute. It's 4 episodes, and that's probably the biggest criticism I've seen of it. It's that it's too short. People want more.
Huh.
This next one makes my blood boil because Percy Jackson is what made me realize I was gay.
Oh, really?
That being gay wasn't a bad thing.
Why are you so angry about it then?
Because, okay, I'm so angry because Rick Riordan, the guy that wrote the books for Percy Jackson, it's something that I really had a connection to. He's a fucking Zionist. He's a Zionist.
Boo.
We are not going to support a TV show like this that is basically all his source material. No matter how important that story may have been to me as a child, I'm not going to do that. It's just like Harry Potter. I'm sorry. Harry Potter was important to me as a child, but also, I hate J.K. Rowling. She's a fucking turf. We do not like her. We do not support her. Why would I not do the same for Percy Jackson?
That's what I thought when you were talking about. I'm like, oh, it's like Harry Potter. Yeah. I just am very thankful that I didn't get a Harry Potter tattoo.
The other thing is that it's a Disney show, and a lot of people have been calling for Disney boycotts because of their stance on this as well. There are a lot of positive reviews of this Percy Jackson show, but there are some people who found it more half-baked than half-blood, and that's a pun relating to the series. But yeah, we're not going to watch it anyway because of the aforementioned reasons. I actually watched 3 of the 6 episodes of this, and I thought it was very well done. I feel like the documentary department at Netflix knows what they're doing, and they really just need to be getting the money that these ridiculous Dave Chappelle specials are getting, because come on, they know how to put out some good content.
Yep. Don't support Pride if you're going to keep giving Dave Chappelle money. That's all. Like, it's so tired. We'll talk about that maybe in our January wrap up because that's when that was released. Obviously, they've got it in them to make good content. It's just choices.
This one was actually about something that was very near and dear to my heart, but I feel like I learned a lot from it still. So it's called Captains of the World. It was released at the end of December on Netflix, and it follows the captains of different teams during the 2022 World Cup. It's really cool because it has exclusive footage from both on and off the field. So you'll see the coaches being like, come on, you cunts. If we have to drag you off this field, we'll drag you off the, which is, but it also does a good job of explaining the legacies of these teams and the stories of their legacy players. Now that I've watched 3 episodes, I feel like I know a lot about the Danish team. I know a lot about the Welsh team, the Red Dragons, and I feel like I have a connection to the Senegalese team. And Papa Bouba, he was a legendary player who passed away in 2020. I might be saying his name wrong, but I feel like very connected to them because of the way that they told the stories. And I also feel like it wasn't trying to be biased towards one team or another. They tried to put as many stories in it as possible, and I just think they did a good job. So I enjoyed it.
This December saw the release of Murder in Boston, which is said to be a satisfying and substantial example of what a true crime docuseries should look like. We also got a wholesome show about the apocalypse from a Rick and Morty writer called Carol and the End of the World, and a forgettable teen drama on Netflix, My Life with the Walter Boys. Forgettable?
The review that I saw said that it was harmless but disposable.
Oh.
So now we're going to talk about the movies of December, and there were way too many. Tish called it. She said there were going to be a lot because it was Boxing Day, and it was Christmas, and it was Hanukkah, and it was Kwanzaa, and it was the solstice, and everybody was at the movies. So one that came out turned out to be one of the biggest smash hits of 2023 overall, and it was a surprise because I didn't hear anything about this movie until it came out, and everybody loved it. Godzilla Minus One. Critics and viewers alike were pleasantly surprised to find that Godzilla was more than a monster film, but contained emotional magnitudes as a metaphor for Japan's post-war trauma and guilt. Viewers felt that the film's depth of characterization and strength of story hasn't been seen since the original Godzilla film. The biggest criticism that I saw was that the good guys in this film were some people from the Japanese military post World War II. And I think we need to be honest about the history of the Japanese military during World War II.
They were not good.
No.
Let's just say that.
If the stance of it was these are the good guys and it was completely uncritical of any of the history of what they did, then that's a problem. But I haven't seen the movie.
And there's nuances, like when you are covering anything like this for World War II, because the moment that they took Berlin, the Allies were fighting each other. As soon as World War II was over, America was fighting their own ally in Russia. So it's complicated. I've seen the original Color Purple, it's a classic. Whoopi Goldberg was amazing in it. She was very young, and Oprah was really good in it too. So The Color Purple has seen several iterations since the original 1982 novel, and any version that you've seen will inform your viewing of the new movie musical. Reviews across the board have praised the performance, but mostly feel like the music, filming, and editing all combined miss the emotional mark. The original, it was one of those movies that you would put on because you knew it would make you cry, like the big reunion. I think that, especially with the music, it informed that time of jazz and saying that, yeah, white people stole the jazz and stole the music. But so it's a really good sort of marker to say, hey, like we were always doing this. And as per usual, you steal the best of what we have and make money off us. We've talked about reboots. Can we see some new movies, new people? Yeah, there might have been new actors in it, but there's so many good stories out there.
Yeah. Especially because it feels like this doesn't hit the emotional mark that the originals did. They didn't give the music enough room to breathe. It kind of felt like they were just boppity boppity bop, next, next, next. It's like, we already have a lot of iterations of this. Let's do a new story about Black women and about misogynoir and about the struggles of slavery.
So, The Boy and the Heron is the first film from animation legend Miyazaki in 10 years. Fans were overjoyed to be transported to this mysterious magical fantasy. The film retreads over some of Miyazaki's trademark obsessions in a way that's gorgeous and haunting. The worst review that we've seen of this film is that it is middling for Miyazaki. I heard a lot about this movie. I heard it was wonderful. I heard that it was what people wanted to see from a Ghibli movie. And I don't know if it broke any barriers in the Ghibli world, but I don't think it had to.
Is this the Howl's Moving Castle?
Yeah, Howl's Moving Castle, My Neighbor Totoro.
They won the Oscar for Spirited Away. There's so many. There's so many that has come out of this. One of the things that this film handles in a really beautiful way is something that Miyazaki is actually dealing with in his own life, which is once he passes away, who is going to be the next one to take his place? Because his son might be the next in line, but he's not exactly quite like Miyazaki. But the film does discuss that.
Hmm. Have you ever heard the thing that we have two deaths? We have our physical death, and then our second death is the last time anyone sort of whispers your name in real life.
Like in Coco, when people stop putting your name on the ofrenda, te vas a la mierda.
There you go. I haven't seen Coco, but that's it.
I just got a memory on my Snapchat of me crying watching Coco.
Oh.
Disney was important to me growing up because of the movies. It was what I watched growing up. You know, watching a Disney movie and having them speak Spanish in it, I was just like, shit. I see a little piece of myself in there. That's cool.
Oh, I love that. That's lovely. You know, like, I don't have to do that. I don't have to wait for my representation. It's already fucking there. Like, I've been trying to do anti-racist work, and there's about white women and you know, white women tears and all that sort of stuff. I can't believe some of the things that I hear, but I can believe, you know, like, and just hearing how white women get their back up so easily. It's like, just shut the fuck up and listen. Black and brown women are telling you what the problem is. They are telling you what the problem is. Don't tone police them, just listen.
So, like we said, December was packed with so many new movies at the cinema and on the streaming. So we're just gonna, these are gonna be true quick fire. Poppity poppity pop. American Fiction is a no perfect satire with an incredible performance from Jeffrey Wright that has an ending that many reviewers feel lacks proper closure.
A Willy Wonka prequel chock full of syrupy sentimentality had audiences expecting to be disappointed, but were pleasantly surprised at how much they enjoyed it.
Beyonce's Renaissance film is an incredible recreation of her concert with backstage footage. However, the film failed to unveil Beyonce's facade of perfection, and its screening in Israel was disappointing to a lot of fans.
A film about Enzo Ferrari was released that had no one at the wheel of the vehicle driving the plot in a meaningful way. Woof. And that's unfortunate because that had three huge names: Adam Driver, Shailene Woodley, and Penelope Cruz, and yet somehow still didn't feel like a good movie.
Leave the World Behind is a slow burning apocalyptic thriller. While some of the setup is immensely enjoyable, the ending left viewers feeling like the film was nowhere as insightful as it thought it was.
Poor Things stars Emma Stone as a 30-year-old woman with an infant's brain. Reviews are divided. Some feel that this is the movie Barbie wanted to be, joyous in its weirdness, and displaying some of the best work of Emma Stone's career. Others feel that the film feels like it is written by a man trying to write about a woman and is a banal rendition of sexual freedom.
She's literally like Frankenstein, like they brought her back to life and put a different brain in her head.
As long as she's not playing someone who's Hawaiian, that's pretty good.
When'd she do that?
She's like in the Air Force or something. I can't remember the name of it, but she played somebody Hawaiian.
Ah, uh, Aloha.
Yeah, aloha. Oh my god.
Gross.
Yeah.
Girl.
Put her in a tan, and she is Hawaiian. It feels like the end where it's a man writing as a woman because, oh, guess what? You get to just mold your perfect woman with an infant's brain and the body of Emma Stone. I don't know. It just seems unseemly to me.
on to the music section, which we don't have too much going on in the music world right now. But Pink Friday 2 was Nicki Minaj's first album in 5 years. Critique is incredibly mixed. Some feel that Nicki is still delivering some of her best. She still maintains control on songs with major collaborators and famous samples, proving that she hasn't lost her ability to catch us by surprise. Others, including myself, think that this album lacks heart, needs lots of editing, and sounds less like genre innovation and more like a ploy to wiggle into the TikTok algorithm. The one thing that I heard about this album, now I did not listen to it. I am not a Nicki supporter. I only heard what I heard online. One of the only things I heard was FTCU. And she says, high heels on my tippies. And I think it's kind of funny. But I'll be honest, that's the only part of this album that reached my page. That says a lot because Nicki Minaj is, whether I like it or not, one of the best rappers of our time. And with all of the samples, it feels like a bit of a cop out. Like she didn't want to do the full creative thing, so she just didn't.
Like, listen to some of these samples. Move Your Feet, Heart of Glass, and Girls Wanna Have Fun. Like, these are some of the most overplayed songs and some of the most used samples of all time.
And really trying to like borrow the funness of those tracks. Like, ooh, look at me. I'm fun like the girls.
And then I think that this review was really interesting. Nicki Minaj is so obsessed with clinging to her Queen of Rap moniker, she barely has time to explore new themes or expand her scope in a meaningful way. Nicki Minaj is, like I said, one of the most established rappers of our time. This album should be a victory lap, and yet it still feels like she has to punch down to people to prove that she's the best.
Okay, so after 65 years of being released, Brenda Lee's Rocking Around the Christmas Tree hit #1 on the singles chart for the first time.
Woo! Go Brenda.
Brenda got flowers from Mariah Carey saying congratulations.
Oh, they're the Christmas gals.
Okay, so now we're going to be talking about our video game segment. We're going to start with the Game Awards. Audiences were pleased with who ended up being chosen for the winners. Our prediction, Baldur's Gate 3 was the winner. However, the ceremony itself left a lot to be desired, feeling more like a showcase for upcoming video game releases than a celebration of the video game developers. They were really rushing the people off the stage who were trying to do their speeches so they could play 10-minute ads. That was not the point. If you wanted to do a video game showcase, do a separate day with the video game showcases. Everybody was really upset because this was a very hard year in gaming, a lot of layoffs at major studios. None of that was mentioned. Palestine wasn't mentioned, and then the developers got kicked off the stage.
Did they play music?
I think they put it on the screen like, please wrap up, and then they played music.
Avatar Frontiers of Pandora is the next game that's came out in December. It's a graphically impressive adventure that fully immerses you in Pandora. However, the story is unoriginal and the characters are flat. I think people will still play it though.
So this next video game was a suggestion from one of our listeners. Lethal Company has truly gone viral. In under 6 weeks, it already passed Baldur's Gate 3 and Resident Evil to become the highest rated Steam release in 2023.
Which is wild because both of those games were major. And if you don't know what Steam is the main PC platform where people buy and play games.
It's quickly becoming a favorite of Twitch streamers who enjoy showcasing the game's unique mixture of horror and slapstick and are giving the game a lot of attention. It would definitely be a contender for the next Game of the Year awards.
Is it Five Nights at Freddy type?
I think that's kind of what's happening. It's incorporating a lot of what Twitch viewers like and a lot of what Twitch streamers like. Horror does really well, and people being funny does really well. And so if you're able to combine both, it's going to do really well for your channel, I feel like.
Do you think, you know how like we've said that TikTok has changed music? Do you think Twitch has changed gaming?
Definitely. One thing that's been really important is they have created ways for it to be interactive with Twitch viewers. So let's just say you're watching somebody stream for a certain amount of time. You can look and say, oh, you actually have currency for your game, or you have some extra power ups or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so Twitch integration has become huge. Co-op, making it so that you can play with multiple people, things like that have really had an impact. And something else that I think is interesting is this game was created by one person. And I wonder maybe if virality wasn't such a big part of this game, if it would have gotten picked up so much.
Mm.
So I think it does have some impact, both good and bad, but I think one of the best things is it's been easier for us to find games by these smaller developers.
Welcome to the December Predator list. This month we've got our usuals who are on here, and that is James Charles, Colleen Bellinger, Steven Tyler, Danny Elfman, Russell Brand.
We have Diddy, and then added to the list, we have Diplo and Vin Diesel.
So I had some wins on Instagram with Predator Protecting. I had 2 influencers and their makeup influencers slash cosplaying influencers. They were following James Charles, and I left them messages saying, you're an amazing content creator. Can you please stop following James Charles? You don't need to be following him. Every follower he has is a reason for him to be online. The 2 people I had been leaving messages for stopped following James Charles.
Yay!
Yay! So it's easy, people. You can, put your people on blast. You can make them accountable. They're influencers. They have a duty to be following good people as well.
Yep.
With attention being one of the hottest commodities of capitalism, TikTok is the place where careers and ideas thrive or die. It's changed how we consume things like music and the news. And in the attempt to go viral, we are sacrificing the details. Armchair experts lead to overinflated egos, and what's left can be a lie. What are the stories from TikTok that have exposed that there's more beneath the surface?
The rest of our discussion will feature non-graphic mentions of topics that may be potentially triggering, such as rape, death, grooming, Munchausen's by proxy, domestic violence, pedophilia, ableism, transphobia, and homophobia. Please take care if you choose to listen further. So, we're going to start our main discussion by talking about 2 influencers who made a splash in a bad way this December, Lauren the Mortician and Matt Rife. Let's start with Lauren the Mortician, and Tish is going to kick this off because you actually did a very good video about this and the timeline.
So, Lauren the Mortician is a very popular TikTok creator. She built a platform on being a mortician, even though she's been a mortician for around about a year. It's at her father's business in a very small town. She used to do safety, and people would tag her in the comments saying Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice to come and give some opinions on the safety because she had established herself as such. She had said that a car seat was unsafe, and an actual car seat expert had said that it was safe because it's out in America. If it's out, it's safe. It wouldn't be released if it wasn't safe. And she didn't like that, so she was insinuating he was weird for having strollers and baby gear in his house, and he didn't have a baby, and because he was gay and wasn't a dad, how could we trust him? And there was a lot of the old, oh, he's gay, so he must be a pedophile. She was definitely leaning in that direction. Anyway, so that made other people say, don't do that. including one creator called Caffeinated Kitty, who's amazing. She also gets called out by Beetlejuice because she gets called when people want to know how to get rid of a guy. She basically didn't want to get mistaken for Lauren because they're both Beetlejuice. So she said, "Hey, I'm not Lauren because Lauren's liking all this transphobic stuff, all this far right stuff." All Kitty was doing was just saying, "I'm not her. This is Lauren. I'm Kitty." And then since then, everybody's sort of jumped on to reporting that because Lauren has looked like a big hypocrite. And then we have the lawyer. Lauren's lawyer is also on TikTok and she represents a lot of influencers, and she basically has told the influencers that she represents that nobody is allowed to say anything negative about you or you can copyright claim them without any understanding of fair use. Which fair use is if you transform the material into something like education, commentary, or satire, you can use people's content, including content that is behind a paywall. You can do it with OnlyFans, you can do it with Patreon stuff. It's frowned upon, but you can. Her and her lawyer, which is weird because they are not a business entity, they are two single people, are suing a couple of creators for defamation because they were talking about the case, and mispronouncing the lawyer's name is in their defamation lawsuit. I would be a millionaire if I had dollars for every time somebody mispronounced my name. Legal Talk and Legal YouTube have basically said that it's a poorly written case. The cease and desists that have been sent out are just ridiculous. They're full of emotion and typos. It's very unprofessional. They think it will get thrown out. I'm seeing anti-slap in the future. She's in Illinois, which is an anti-slap state. It could be an important case, but I can't see it going very far. It's a First Amendment thing as well. You're allowed to criticize people.
Also, isn't she criticizing people online?
Yes.
Hey, this isn't safe. Hey, I don't like this.
Yes.
Hey, I think your baby's head is too soft for that.
Yeah.
What? Are they supposed to send you cease and desists now?
I think that the rise of trying to create content off of your profession, a little weird. Mortician TikToks, lawyer TikToks, surgeon TikToks. It's a little weird. I'm not saying that every single person who does it is bad, but I also think that there are some who are weird, who once they think that they are an expert, it inflates their ego.
Mm-hmm.
So Matt Rife got blown up on the internet because he made jokes about domestic violence, and then when he got called out for that, he made an incredibly ableist joke, and it just goes to show how fragile an ego can get when they blow up on the internet. And I think both of these stories show that. Lauren got really pissed off that her authority was questioned, and so did this lawyer, and that's why they're doing all of this. Matt felt that his credibility as a comedian was threatened, and that's why he lashed out.
And he definitely alienated his entire fan base. Like, how do you build your fan base and then just completely annihilate it? And then afterwards, the reaction is just, he's so butthurt. He's so precious. Like, he was having a beef with a 6-year-old and saying, oh, your mum does OnlyFans. So the child's mother was not on OnlyFans. And who gives a fuck if she was? Shut the fuck up. And he's not even that good looking. Do you know what? Can we please stop giving men podcasts? We'll take the podcast from here. Thank you. Simone Biles' husband was on a podcast with 2 other men, and they were talking about how they met. And they met on Raya, which is a celebrity dating app. And he claims that he didn't know who Simone was. She messaged him first. She drove 2 hours to go to their first date, and she did this and she did that, and he was like, I didn't even know who she was. Fuck off.
Clown. Clown.
And he is being slammed all over TikTok. I saw a really good TikTok where people were asking their husbands, do you know who Simone Biles is? And they're like, oh yeah, the GOAT. Oh yeah, the Olympian. Yeah, I know who Simone Biles is. And then they said, do you know who Simone Biles' husband is? And they were like, no, she's married. That's what I thought when I first saw it. Oh, I didn't even realize she was married. No one knows him, and he's on a football team. He's like a second string defense.
At the end of the day, he's trying to compare himself to one of the greatest athletes of all time. Recently, she became one of the most decorated gymnasts of all time. Have some fucking respect.
It's not a flex to say that you didn't know who Simone Biles was. That just shows that you have no respect for women's sports.
And I think he was lying anyway.
Yeah, because everyone and their mother knows who Simone Biles is. I've known who she was since she started getting medals. She was a household name during the Olympics.
The United States does not play about their gymnastics team.
Nay.
And we haven't for many years. And so, even if you do not give a shit about sports, you have some attachment to the gymnastics team, and specifically the women's gymnastics team. Let's be very clear here.
Honestly, the lesson in this is that, like, he, at the end of the day, is willing to put down his wife, the person that he chose to marry and chose to spend his life with. He's willing to put her down just to get clout. Just be like, oh yeah, I've never heard of her. Who is she?
Mhm.
I don't know her. You're really gonna do that about your wife?
Mm-hmm.
Dude,
Not only your wife, but one of the greatest athletes of all time.
it was already bad to just do that about your wife, but to do that about Simone Biles? Clownery. Absolute clownery. Baloney.
Do you think they're going to last?
No.
No.
Me too. I've been following this very closely. I don't know his name. It's not in my memory. And I've been following it really closely. So next up on the TikTokification of people, oh god.
We're gonna talk about G. Rose Blanchard, and we're not gonna say her first name because it's a slur. And I'm not blaming her for that. She did not choose her first name, but I don't feel comfortable saying a slur. Doesn't matter what slur it is, I'm not gonna say it. I don't care if it's your name.
She was convicted of assisting in the murder of her mother, who had Munchausen's by proxy and was abusing G-Rose for many years. And once she reached a certain age and was able to contact somebody, they conspired to murder her. She's just recently got out of jail for that.
Now all of the TikTok girlies are just begging her to make content. They are making fan cams of her in court. I didn't see anything too traumatizing because some of this honestly seems like it could be traumatizing for someone who went through the whole Munchausen situation and then went to jail. Of no fault of her own, she is not well adjusted right now. And she is being thrown into the pits of TikTok and Twitter. It's not good. And I don't blame her for leaning into it because, as a person that went through what she went through, what options does she feel like she has at this moment?
And everybody's saying, oh, well, look, she's taking pictures with drag race queens. She's making TikToks of her own. See, she wants to be an influencer. And it's like, you all primed her for that before she even freaking left prison. And then in a few months, when she's actually trying to be an influencer, you're all gonna make fun of her. Like you make fun of Britney Spears. And I think it's ridiculous and it's disgusting. This is not Taylor Swift. This is not Jennie from Blackpink. This is somebody who was abused.
Even in her regular life before prison was no regular life. It was traumatic. I've known about G Rose for a long time. I've watched Mummy Dearest like 10 years ago, like fresh when it had happened. She went through so much. Like, she got all of her teeth pulled out and replaced because she was sneaking sugar. She had unnecessary surgeries. She's never been in the real world as a person just existing.
You said that you knew her story because of a TV show or a film called Mommy Dearest. A lot of people were reintroduced to her story a few years ago because of The Act, which was a series.
I watched it with my mother. It was a chilling series. It made every bone in my body just shake. Chilling to the bone.
It makes me wonder, though, if people still think of her as the Joey King character and not as the real human being.
She's a fictional character to some people. This is her life. You can bet your bottom dollar they didn't show everything in The Act. The day to day with her mum, it's fucked up. And the trauma from that would be horrendous.
Somebody else who was flattened and treated as a fictional character for the sake of content is Vili Falau. A lot of people know his name in connection with Mary Kay Letourneau. I believe this happened in the 90s, and they became a tabloid sensation, which is disgusting because, again, this is abuse. There's a movie that came out recently that was inspired by his story called May December, and it's being heralded as one of the movies of the year for its sensitivity and care of the source material. However, it's come out more recently that Vili was not involved in the production at all. And here's the quote: "If they had reached out to me, we could have worked together on a masterpiece. Instead, they chose to do a ripoff of my original story. I'm offended by the entire project and the lack of respect given to me, who lived through a real story and is still living it."
They have children. She passed away a couple of years ago. She groomed him and raped him. Like, that's the story. I'd be interested to see how they treat it because you don't want to be rooting for a couple like that. You know what I mean? Like, that's a lot of trauma. And I wonder if it got as dark as it would have. The thing is, it's probably still unpacking that trauma today. I think it's a bit of a blessing that she's passed away because he's still very young. I didn't realize that that was what May December was about. Even the way that they treat female groomers. Is it okay because she was pretty?
Is it okay because he was big?
Honestly, some of the reviews that I saw said that they didn't make a spectacle out of it. They were trying to really just have a sympathetic take on the story. But it seems like in creating this and in not having the victim have a voice in this story, they just sensationalized it themselves.
That was also a critique of that the movie was trying to make, is that we were all part of sensationalizing this as well. But then they did it.
But then they sensationalized it and they made it into a Hollywood blockbuster.
With Natalie Portman. One of the things that almost makes me the most angry, obviously this whole story is upsetting. He was basically saying in the quote that he would have been willing to work with them.
Yeah.
And the fact that they didn't even ask him, the fact that they didn't even try to work with him to create the best thing possible shows that they didn't care.
No.
They just wanted to make the movie.
Like, why tell a story like that if you are not going to talk to the source of the story? Like, did they not want to pay him? What, he's got to make a living, and you are basically replicating his story.
And for me, I feel like both the G. Rose Blanchard thing and what happened with Vili Falau, they both show how society is not willing to listen to the people that they create into content. If the story is good enough, they're gonna make the thing. It doesn't matter if they haven't talked to the victims. It doesn't matter if the victims' families don't want it. It doesn't matter if we have no idea what their opinion is on it. If the story is good enough, if it's interesting enough, it's gonna turn into a meme, it's gonna turn into a movie. That's messed up. And I think that we all have a part to play in that with not engaging with things like that. Now that we know that Vili Falau was not involved in May December, I will not be watching that movie.
They did it with the Ted Bundy thing too, and Zac Efron.
Mm,
Like, haven't we learned our lesson?
yep.
And the Evan Peters and
Yep,
Jeffrey Dahmer thing.
yep.
With victims saying, I don't think they should have made this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, can you please stop doing that?
And you know what? Rose Blanchard might come out in a few years and say, I hated the memes. I thought it was disgusting, but I didn't feel like I could say anything. But the thing is, we don't know because people are projecting on her saying, you know what? She loves all of this. She loves it. Look, she's taking a picture with the drag race queen. She loves this. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think we should get to decide that for her.
Thank you all so much for joining us. We really appreciate you for being here for our wrap up of the month. We hope you guys have a good one and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
January is going to be really interesting.
Thank you so much for listening to the XYZ podcast. We'd appreciate it if you left us a rating and a review. We'll see you for the next episode for more laughs and chats about the month's moments.